Hi everybody. I am here today to talk about product management. So it's a perfect intro leading right into this. What is product management? How did I get into product management? And is it the right job for you? So quickly about me. As I was thinking about this presentation, I was thinking about what I geek out about, what I wanted to talk about. And I realized that the list got very long very quickly. And at its core, the reality for me is that I absolutely love to learn new things, and I absolutely love problem solving. And these are two things that are absolutely key to product management. So I thought, perfect, that's going to be where we geek out today. So very quickly, my path into product. I graduated college completely sure that I was going into a career in healthcare. I worked in research. I went to BU School of Public Health, with the goal of potentially going into healthcare consulting or maybe medical school. What I was not planning for was founding a startup right after joining public health school. I have no tech background at this point. I had absolutely no experience in running a business. I had absolutely not one clue what I was doing, and I loved every single second of it. It combined some of the things that I love most about working. It combined a scientific approach, and it combined an iterative, quick working functionality. It was just, I had the ability to build a product completely from scratch. And that was something that it completely hooked me. And that is what led me to product here at HQO. So what is product management? I think lots of people think about product management as requirements gathering or planning out a roadmap or prioritizing a backlog. And those are all pieces of it. But really, the job of a product manager is to discover a product that is valuable, usable, and feasible. And what that means is that a product manager sits at this interesting intersection between a customer, between technology, and the business. And to be effective at that job, you need to understand and feel passionate about each of these three areas. First, you have to understand and empathize, really key and important for this modern role in product. You have to empathize with your customers. And this is key because you need to drive real value for them. You have to understand them. And you also have to balance that at every point with the needs and strategies of your business and the technological and operational feasibility as well. So to give you an example of what that actually looks like in action, I'm going to take you through a very small piece of one of the product processes that we work through at HQO. And this product experience was figuring out how we were going to introduce an order ahead experience in our product. So really high level, if I walk through the full process, we'll be here all night. So I'm going to focus on one very specific portion. At this point in the product process, we've already validated that this is a feature that customers really want and will provide them value. We have already validated that, done some very quick and iterative tests to determine that users will actually order food through the, through this application. So now we hit a point where we needed to figure out how we were actually going to do this. So like everything else, it starts with the business and product strategy. These are our table stakes, right? We need, as a business, to make sure that we're collecting data. One of the values of HQO is that we're providing data back to our end customer. So we needed to know that no matter how we were building this, we needed to make sure we were moving data back to the landlord and tracking everything. Two, we needed to make sure that this was a good experience for users, right? The product and UX strategy here. If you don't have users using this particular feature, you're not getting data. And of course, the cycle just breaks. So with those table stakes set, we start looking at a technical approach. For a feature and a product as big as this, right, it's really important to make sure if it's very complicated to build, you need to weigh the pros and cons of build versus buy. When we looked at order ahead, we very quickly decided that we wanted to invest in third-party partners who could help us provide this functionality because it was very complex. Now we add a layer of complexity because now you're bringing a third party in to help you drive some of this product experience, right? So now you got to go back, look at the business strategy, look at the product strategy, look at the potential technical implications, and weigh this against a series of different third-party partners that you're evaluating. And this also brings up another important layer of complexity, which is pricing, right? Now you're paying for this third-party partner. You're going to be paying for them to support this order ahead piece of functionality. The reality there is now you have to figure out how, as a company, right, our goal is to help the customer, our goal is to be able to drive customer value, and our goal is also not to lose money. So for us, we now need to figure out how we're going to balance bringing on third parties and balance how the pricing works there. We could potentially charge, there's an option to potentially charge our customer. There's a potential option to charge a restaurant, and there's a potential option to maybe charge the tenant, and maybe all three. But what that means from a product perspective is we have to go all the way back to more of our customer research and really understand from them what's feasible and what's viable, and what continues to drive value for the customer. And then finally, we got to look at operational feasibility, especially with this particular piece of functionality. We were introducing a lot of complexity, operational complexity, into what was at that time, I believe, like a 25, 30 person company. How are we going to manage this entirely new stakeholder with the restaurant owner? How are we going to help them onboard with this entirely new piece of functionality? How are we going to help them manage receiving payments? How are we going to help them understand how this full system worked, right? And how are we going to do that without completely burdening our team? So I just wanted to give this as a high-level picture of some of the pieces that we worked through in the product process to before we even got to the point of designing out and delivering this functionality. But the key I want to take away from this is that I read them in a linear fashion, but the reality and what makes products so interesting is none of this is really that linear at all. All of it is happening in parallel at the same time. And anytime you move one of these gears or you change one of these inputs, right, or one of these factors, it completely changes the entire picture. And that, I think, is very much the core of a strong product. Is you need to be able to take in this wide variety of inputs. You need to be thinking about so many different factors at all times. And you need to be able to change all of those different inputs and understand how it impacts every different system that you're interacting with and working with. I think it's a real skill for people who are good at it, and I think it's really valuable for people to be able to develop. And frankly, it's hard. So if you were listening to that and you thought your head is spinning a little bit, that's totally normal. That's basically day in the life on the product side. If you're listening to it and you thought my head is spinning, but I have a bunch of ideas of how I could potentially tackle this, and I'm really excited about it, maybe product is the right path for you. And one of the things that I love the most about product and have really appreciated in working in product is there is no right path into product. There are a lot of fellow boss ladies from our product team who are on this chat right now who have all come to this from different experiences. They come from customer success, might come from solutions engineering, might come from publishing, right? They're all different ways to come into product. And what I tend to look for when I'm hiring a product manager is not necessarily experience, previous product experience. What it is I'm looking for that product thinking and product mindset. I'm looking for curiosity, passion for problem solving. I'm looking for somebody who is empathetic and who's also self-aware and knows how to look back and improve themselves. I'm looking for somebody who's a really strong listener. That's so key, especially when you're working with customers. But you also see them processing while they're listening, right? They're taking in inputs and they're changing their perspective as they listen. You're looking for team-oriented motivators, right? Product managers are not always managers, right? They are leading by example. They are leading by motivating. And a product manager does not do anything without their team. They are interacting with every single other department, and they are working with their teammates consistently across the board. This is a team sport. And then finally, you're looking for somebody who has this special mix of combining the ability to look downfield and think strategically, and who also knows how to execute to get there, right? That, for me, is a killer combination, and that's what you look for when you're looking for a PM. And then finally, what I like to call, personally, the lean. So when you're in an interview or you're talking to somebody and you ask them a question and you just see a sparkle in their eye and they get so excited and they lean in because they're so excited to tell you about this challenge they've had or this problem that they've worked through or something they're still working through, that is, like, I think the core and what captured me and why I love product so much and what you see in other people and what makes this field such an interesting one and this role such an interesting one as well. So if you think that sounds like you, maybe you should consider exploring a job in product. And if you'd like to, there are, as I said, lots of fellow boss ladies from our product team here, and I as well would be happy to talk to you kind of after the meeting and see if this is something that interests you. Thank you.